out of nowhere, as usual, Ubisoft dropped even more Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay, this time exploration. How Naoe and Yasuke traverse through the world, the activities they can find throughout that world, viewpoint synchronization, a smuggling system with scouts, and much more, and we'll get into all of that today. Originally, I thought I was gonna have no time to make this video today, and I was a bit bummed out, because I was like, oh, there's so much to talk about, and I'm usually always covering it, but I can't. But I found the time, and here I am right now. So, if you're new to this channel, and want to stay up to date with everything Assassin's Creed Shadows and more, consider subscribing. Let's get on with it. So the first gameplay clip we saw was Yasuke sailing on a little boat. The weather system wasn't talked about, but I just want to point out it looks pretty nice. But the main focus of this clip was the world's map. The way it works now is very much kind of like Google Maps. You're zoomed out and you see generic information like location names, region names. The more you zoom in, you get more detailed information about these regions. You zoom all the way in and you get very much detailed information about those areas. It pretty much works exactly the same as it did in Odyssey, Valhalla, Mirage, etc. But now, again, it's just going a little bit more in depth than it has done before. It looks a bit more streamlined. Next, we see viewpoint synchronizations. Now it climbs on top of a building, synchronizes the viewpoint as you'd expect. But this time, it's not to just reveal points of interest on your map. Synchronizing the viewpoint does, of course, allow a fast travel option, but to now reveal points of interest on the map, you have to physically look around with your camera on top of that viewpoint. Points of interest in real time will glow. You can hover over those areas, mark them on your map, and walk towards them. Of course, once you get there, once you discover these locations, they will just come up as icons when you're on a viewpoint. So, you know, it's taking what we've always known from Assassin's Creed when it comes to viewpoint synchronization, but just, I guess you could say evolving it, but definitely changing it. Now, the way Naoe or Yasuke will be on top of a viewpoint and scouting out points of interest. Now, this works in the same way as the scouting mechanic. This is where you can aim your camera at certain things from a vantage point, but when lower down, you can tag enemies. You can see chests that are lootable, maybe information that you need to gather. It basically completely removes the eagle drone mechanic and again streamlines it to be able to just do all of that stuff from the character themselves, which I think is a much better way of scouting out enemies and points of interest. It almost makes me think, what was the point of the eagle drone mechanic in the first place? I mean, I suppose it was more of a gimmick, and this kind of proves it. Now, when you explore each region, you will unlock a safe house within said region. Now, all of these safe houses are customizable. You can change the placement of buildings. Your team of characters that accompany you on the story will be in these areas. Now, it's worded in a way that I wouldn't be surprised if when you go to a different region and you go to your base camp for that region, all of your characters that are with you in the camp will be in that region, and then when you go to another region, you go to that safe house, there will be spawns there. I don't think it will work this way, but I'm wondering if there could be some parallels drawn between Baldur's Gate 3. When you sleep at your camp for the night, depending on your region, the camp will aesthetically look different, but the makeup of what that camp is and who is in that camp is very much the same. They haven't shown us the camp, so I can't really comment on how it's going to work, but they've kind of talked about it in this article, but time will tell. Now, in Assassin's Creed Shadows, when exploring in the world of Japan, be it Yaoi or Nasuke, I just said their names completely wrong. I switched them up. I did that the other day. I don't know what's going on. There is an optional pathfinder system within the world. It basically just highlights a literal path for you to follow. Again, the way it's worded in this article, it sounds to me that these paths will only be revealed to you if the scouts have gone out, scouted out that area, and revealed and understood new information about said area. Now, if you don't know what scouts are in Assassin's Creed Shadows, think of like assassin initiates, you know, people you can recruit to the Brotherhood. But now they kind of do more than just attack enemies. They can go out, they can smuggle items. I'm showing on screen right now, Naoe marking an item to be smuggled out by her scouts. I assume as you progress through the game, you will meet more people you can recruit as a scout. They will probably be able to fight for you, but again, it goes a bit deeper with this game, where again, they can smuggle items out, they can mark paths, they can probably find targets for you, which leads into the assassination of targets, gameplay mechanic that we know from Odyssey, Valhalla, and now it's back in Shadows. And again, this pathfinder system is very much tied to that. Again, by what we're reading. It also notes on this article that you can just turn exploration mode off. This is something they also did with Odyssey and Valhalla, and I think they did it with Mirage, where you have the accessibility option to have exploration mode on, where things are much harder to find. You have to really go out and look for them. Or you can be more on a guided path where you'll have an objective there, you'll follow the objective, and you'll get there. So these systems are probably very dependent on what accessibility option you choose. Again, though, we don't really have enough information in this article to really be able to say, okay, what mechanic works best with exploration mode? What maybe gets sidelined if you turned exploration mode off? They don't tell us any of that, so we'll just have to see when we play the game. Next, we saw the objective board. Now, this is what you're used to. Mirage had it most recently, Valhalla and Odyssey had it. You see your targets, you've got mysteries about them, there's clues to their whereabouts and who they are. The more you learn in the worlds, the more this map of targets will be revealed, and you can go and assassinate them as you play the game. It's not really any different here, except this system is going to be more directly tied with this new scout system. Again, rather than you as the player learning all of this information, you might be able to fast track this by getting scouts out into the world and finding this stuff out for you while you go and figure out other stuff yourself. One more time, they haven't told us enough about how this works. They're just saying, look, this is something that there is in the game, and here's a visual cue to show the menu. They don't go in too much detail, so all we can really do is go off what we've got here. Again, not enough. Personally, for me, I do think that having different targets to assassinate in an Assassin's Creed game, just inherently by the way they set up targets in the newer Assassin's Creed games, having different targets in different parts of the world, you can randomly stumble across them, or you can find them in different orders, whatever you choose. I think a more streamlined assassination target works better in an Assassin's Creed story, because think of AC1, for example. You assassinate the first target, they reveal a bit of information, it leads into character development, it leads into that mystery with the story. The more targets you assassinate, the more information Altair learns, and the more his character progresses. If you can do it willy-nilly in any order, it kind of eliminates a lot of narrative beats, I think, when it comes to assassinations of targets, which is the forefront of an Assassin's Creed game, so we'll have to see how well it's done. Now, one of the most interesting points of this article is they mention seasons quite a lot. At first, I was contemplating whether their mention of seasons was, Season 1 Battle Pass, Season 2 Battle Pass, which we know will be coming to AC Shadows, but I think what they really mean is the genuine seasons of, weather patterns and that sort of thing in Shadows. Ubisoft have mentioned to us a lot about how seasons affect how you play the game. If it's winter, you can run over icy lakes. If it's summer, you'll swim, for a base value example. Now, they've said in this article that things like smuggling with scouts and basically sending your scouts out into the world to complete different activities and objectives for you will be very dependent on season. When you send out a scout, they will have said season to complete that task, or I suppose fail it based on the level of your scout, perhaps. Again, they haven't told us that. Not enough information. But again, it alludes to in this article, for example, when Naue is marking some smuggling equipment to be taken by a scout, that will be that scout's objective for the season. When it comes to the end of the season, that objective again will be complete or will have failed, I suppose. And I can't even talk about how good or bad that might be, because again, no information from Ubisoft about how that works. They talk to us almost as if we should already know how it works, when obviously it's the first we're hearing of it. So yeah. There is a very brief mention of guardians in this article. No gameplay footage to show it, but it's basically worded that certain actions you take, which I'm assuming if you raid lots of locations, you're going to get basically a higher notoriety level without there being an actual notoriety system. You will be put on high alert, and this will send out guardians looking for you. Now, it very much sounds to me that these are the zealots of Valhalla, the mercenaries of Odyssey. They're these specific high-leveled individuals that will come hunting you, and you will basically have a list of them to take out. And again, it's another, I guess, gameplay loop within the world. It says that the more scouts you send out, the more high alert you'll be on. So sometimes you might have to cancel certain scouts' objectives, and this will lower your notoriety. So I suppose it adds a layer of intensity to this gameplay mechanic. You can't just send a ton of them out, wait, leave your game running, and then they'll be done. It's more, okay, let's strategically think who we're going to send out in what regions, what resources do we really need, what resources can we maybe leave till the next season, again, so that you can plan your scouting accordingly, get the stuff you need, get the information you need, get the resources you need, and get it all done, get it all in before you get noticed by these guardians, whoever these are going to be. I'm not going to give my thoughts on that because I don't have any, because one more time, they're not telling us enough. And then last but not least, we've got a nice little video of Naue drawing a picture of a duck. No, it's not a duck, it's a heron. I don't know why I said a duck. And this is an activity you can do in the world as Yasuke or Naue. You can find these little activities every now and then if you sneak up on these animals and you zoom in on them with your focus ability and you don't scare them off. And that's about all we saw in this Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay article for exploration. It's about all we got. I've been preaching this from the first article. I mean, articles in general are a really weird way of showing us the game because most people, again, aren't going to be reading these. They aren't going to be watching these videos. They're just going to wait for the trailers. Most people don't even know these things are coming. It's bad marketing. But to stop preaching what I've yapped about over and over for the last few weeks, again, what we see here is cool, but it's not enough. I still have so many questions about what there is to do in the world other than bandit camps. They very much, again, focus on what they like to focus on, which is the bandit camps. You can go to this bandit camp and you can scout out the loot. You can scout out where a target might be and you can fuck off. And it doesn't say enough about, like, is there hidden caves to explore with cool little bits of loot at the end of the cave and genuine unique armor or robes that you can wear? Are there assassin tombs similar to how we got them in Valhalla? I wouldn't say we'd get them like the older Ezio games because the parkour is not as on an evolved level as the older games. But, you know, again, like in Valhalla, that was an interesting addition to the exploration gameplay loop. We're not seeing any of this, so I can really not tell you guys whether the open world is going to be good or bad, because again, I can't base it off of anything because we're not seeing enough. Will Ubisoft show us this in deep dive videos up until March when the game comes out? Maybe. Will they though? I'm not hopeful. I don't think so. I think we'll just have to figure this stuff out when we play the game. And you know, there is something to be said in discovering something yourself as the player. You shouldn't, as a game developer, just show everything before the game comes out, because that could be bad marketing. That there is a fine line between showing and hyping people up and really showcasing your game to the potential that it potentially has, and showing barely anything to the point where no one cares. They don't even remember the game's coming out. It only goes trending when you delay the game, you know? Now, I'm very much hoping that when we get previews for Assassin's Creed Shadows next week, or less than a week at this point, January 22nd to 23rd from what I'm hearing, I'm really hoping that the YouTubers that have got this preview are going to really dive deep, way more than these articles have done, because let's face it, these articles have not done that, and they really answer these burning questions that we have. You know, what really is there in the world to do? Other than glorified bandit camps, generic bandit camps that are all the same but a little bit reskinned. How far apart are quests from one another? Do we have to run in straight lines on our horse until we get 20,000 meters away to the next main quest? Because if that's the case, they've not learned anything from Odyssey or Valhalla. I'm not saying that they have done this, but again, I can't tell you that, or I can't think that until we know these questions. So I'm hoping when these YouTubers play the game, they give their thoughts, we can really get proper answers to our questions. Are there actually any assassins with hoods other than Naue? How much of an interaction between Naue and Yasuke do we really have? Or are they very much isolated between one character based on who you play as? Again, we need to know more, and hopefully we will next week. Unfortunately, Ubisoft did not reach out to me for a preview. I don't think they like me. I don't know. I don't really ever hear anything from them, but it is what it is. I'll be looking forward to covering what we see from the other YouTubers. I'll jump on it as soon as I can and give my thoughts regardless. But yeah, just a heads up, I will not be playing the game early, but you know, we move and I will be playing with you guys on day one. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to press the like button and subscribe if you're new to this channel and want to stay up to date with everything Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, there is a little bit more information in this article, but I basically broke down all the main points of it. Anything I left out was pretty much just like word salad, like filler bits of text that don't really add to the conversation, I don't think. Regardless, I have left the link to the official article in the description, so if you want to take a read of that, you can. Other than that, you'll catch me on the Podyssey this Sunday, and beyond that, you'll catch me talking about my thoughts on the Assassin's Creed Shadows previews next week. I love you guys, mate, the father of understanding guidance. I will see you soon. Goodbye.